All right, time to talk the Prem de la Prem. Leicester fucking City, Geordie, sitting top of the league. That's the first talking point we have to bring up. Yes, it would be easy to go straight into Liverpool demolishing Manchester City, which we will touch on. But get to the news, mate. What is going on? Leicester City sitting top of the league. What is your reaction to this? Because you personally were on the receiving end of James Vardinho, as you call him, this weekend.
Well, obviously Newcastle weren't at their best.
Yeah.
We very rarely are. But looking at Leicester, we've played Chelsea, Manchester City, Arsenal, Manchester United this season. Best team Newcastle have faced this season, Leicester City. And
Absolutely.
I say that with, no qualms whatsoever. The team ethic, they worked hard. Every second ball they tracked. The creativity, the way Vardy ripped with the shreds, Mahrez playing out wide. We just couldn't get near them, mate. We couldn't get near them.
And you mentioned it before in the last clip, and I want to touch on it again because it's a spot-on bit of analysis there, Geordie, is that people are scared to compare Vardy to some of the best in the world right now, right? But you got to consider he's playing against great teams. Like, many people may have their qualms about the Premier League. It's still the most competitive league in the world. And he's playing against every opponent he's playing against. He's not undermining them one bit, and that's the talent in him. Is that he understands that every defender he plays against is a great defender. Is considered a good defender.
Exactly.
And he's playing against them.
And when you look at the record, mate,
yeah,
Ruud van Nistelrooy, in my eyes, and I say this as a massive Alan Shearer fan, I'm very respectful of Thierry Henry. But when you talk about out-and-out finishers, Ruud van Nistelrooy was as good as any finisher I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And he had that record of 10 games in a row with the greatest Man United team we've seen. I mean, he was having crosses from Beckham and Ronaldo and Giggs and whoever. Do you know what I mean? This is the top level from Scholes. Jamie Vardy's done it with Leicester.
Exactly.
So unbelievable what he's done.
I think it's as you mentioned before, it's like a trifecta at the moment. I'm not taking away from anyone in their team. Like they cohesively they're playing well, but I think it's three at the moment. It's Vardy, Mahrez, as you said, and Claudio Ranieri. Like, it's just a combination of fantastic management, utilising what's best of you, because that doesn't just come naturally. Vardy's movement is phenomenal, and Leicester work as a team to free him up. As you mentioned there, he'll play on the shoulder of defenders and he'll cut in behind, but they make sure to get the ball wide to Mahrez as quick as they can so that they can utilise his pace. They're so direct. You don't see them do what, like, I mean, I watched Arsenal against West Brom at the weekend, and for a chance for Gibbs, they knocked the ball side to side for about 15 minutes. And it's nice and it looks good at times and when it works out. But Leicester know what works. Ranieri's drilled it into their head that they have a lethal weapon up there, and they get it to him as quick as possible.
And that midfield, mate, that midfield were busting a gut to get. I mean, they worked their socks off this midfield. It was really impressive. It was.
So let's transition over to two of the biggest teams in who I mean, this is why I love the Premier League. Trust me, I expected Barcelona to beat Real Madrid. It wouldn't be a surprise either way, but no one everyone expected Liverpool to put up a fight, but no one expected them to demolish Manchester City 4-1 without Benteke or Sturridge starting. They did that. They did it through utilising. I think at the moment there's four players in the Premier League at the moment, I would say, that stand out to me as I can maybe say world class, right? And I say that boldly, world class. I think Smalling as a defender is looking world class. I think Vardy as a striker is looking world class. I think Ozil as a midfielder is looking world class again. And I think Coutinho is looking fucking world class. I think that guy, you got to look who he's playing around. Like, he's not playing with the Suarez or Neymars like you mentioned with Vardy. He's playing with good players, trust me. I think him and Firmino have that Brazilian connection in there where they know where each other are on point. But he was just ripping. It looked like David Silva in there, ripping Manchester City to pieces. What was your reaction to that?
Yeah, he looks like a young Iniesta.
Yeah.
I mean, he has that about him. He spots passes. He senses danger. The way he closed down Sanya for the first goal. He raises the whole team another level. He makes everyone around him better. That's the sign of a world-class player. And Liverpool, I've got to give credit to the manager. Don't get us wrong, it's not rocket science. You know, the one thing Pellegrini has done time and time and time again is have a light midfield, push players too far forward. And at one point in this game, Liverpool had six midfielders because Firmino had dropped in, Coutinho had dropped in. They had six midfielders to Manchester City's two.
Yeah. And do you know what I was going to... I think this will hit home with me and you more than anything else. Do you know how refreshing it was to watch Jurgen Klopp's pre-match interview, right? They asked him a question. They said to him, what are you going to do here? And he goes, well, I mean, Man City are a great team. We're going to try and score more goals than them. It's simple. And that's what I was talking to I was talking to my dad about this. You listen to Van Gaal and Mourinho, and they're making comparisons to pigs and flies and fucking mud, and they're like, oh yeah, well you got to think about who's going to catch who. You got to think about who's going to play there. Now, mate, football can be very simple if you utilise what works.
I'm sick to death of Louis Van Gaal. I'm fucking sick of that cunt. I can't stand him anymore. Klopp is a breath of fresh air. He's just so honest and just to the point, a real bloke's bloke and a proper footballing man.
Yeah, and that's the best way to describe him. He loves football. That is it. He loves football. No ifs, buts, maybes. He just loves to be in this position. It's almost like he feels blessed to be in there. He's like, all right, I'm the manager of one of the biggest football teams in the world. They're in a position of turmoil. What have I got to lose? All I can do is kind of turn them around. And I'm not saying that this is a magical Liverpool turnaround. This is what Liverpool do. They'll win a game like this, then they'll lose against Crystal Palace. That's what will happen. But
the thing is, this is, to me, like you say, they will win and they will lose, but this is the start of a turnaround, a bigger turnaround than I think. When you start doing things like this, hammering Chelsea, hammering Manchester City, who are, the two best teams in the league. I know Chelsea are going through a bad spell, but last season they were champions for a reason, and Man City, for me, have the best squad hands down. This is the sign of a bigger turnaround because he hasn't even bought any players yet. What's going to happen when he finally plugs the holes that are in the team? Absolutely. Then we're talking.
I think for Liverpool, they've got the makings there of a great team. I like the youth that they utilise in there. He's not scared to put Lallana up there with Firmino, and then he's got Benteke and Sturridge to bring on when they are fit. But at the back, I would like to see them add another centre-back. I'd like to see him utilise his Dortmund connection, maybe bring in a Hummels or something like that just to kind of shore up that back. But moving over to the last couple of teams we want to touch on, we're going to Manchester United, as we know, pulled out a last-minute goal, Bastian Schweinsteiger, to win a game against Watford that looked difficult. They should have put the game to bed. But I want to touch on the two London teams before we finish. So Arsenal struggling against West Brom. What was your thoughts on that?
Well, I think in games like that, they have one player who really helps a lot, and that's Coquelin. And when you lose Coquelin at the start of the game, they don't have a replacement. And for all the years they've had Wenger. I mean, this is his team. This is no one else's fault. How can you not have a central defensive midfielder who can come on and do nearly as good a job? Yeah. Arteta and Flamini, they're just not in the same planet as Coquelin. And even Coquelin was discovered by accident. Yeah. So it's disgusting, to be honest, at this stage.
And this is the type of game that I thought, when I've seen Arsenal this season, I thought there was a change. I thought there was a change in their mentality. I thought that they would drag these games out. I thought that if they can win these type of games, they win the Premier League. That is hands down the truth. If they win these type of games,
same here, mate.
They win it. But these are the type of games where I watched them the last 20 minutes. They had the majority of the possession. They were knocking it side to side to side. There was no execution. There was no finishing touch to kind of help grab them back into the game. Of course, Cazorla missing a penalty kick was a huge dagger. You expect him to put that in the back of the net at any point. But it seemed like they panicked a little bit when they realised that this game wasn't going to be handed to them. And they looked like they were just moving it from side with no real finishing product.
Yeah, they've got to be better than this, mate. And they've got to take some responsibility because even without Coquelin, they've got the talent to sweep West Brom aside. And this is what they do. I mean, West Brom are the team that they'll beat time and time and time again. It's the bigger teams that they've always struggled with. This season, they've done all right. I mean, the hammered Man United, and you're thinking, all right, now we're looking at a serious contender. Yeah. Then they go and lose this, and you just think this was a big chance for them to go top of the league, and they blew it.
Yeah, and then to end on, I would say maybe a little bit of a positive note with Chelsea for the first time. The pictures were circulating around Eden Hazard on Twitter before the game. Has anyone seen this man? He went missing last season, the reward. And to be honest, he came back a little bit. Now, I'm not going to be the bandwagon. Oh, Hazard's back. You look great. There's still those moments where it's not his talent that lets him down. It's his fucking attitude. He'll lose the ball, he'll drop his head, and he'll wander back. But as a whole, you could see on Jose Mourinho's face, a huge win for them to beat Norwich at home 1-0. And that's what it comes to now. That's what Chelsea they've got themselves into this situation. These wins are vital for them. So what do you think about Chelsea? Do you see any signs of a turnaround here, or are you still a little bit wary?
Well, I mean, I'm definitely not a bandwagoner personally because, as you know, I've been very critical of Eden Hazard. Even when everyone was raving about him. I seen that he's not the total package mentally. He's got the talent, but it's the mental issue, I think, is Jose Mourinho's problem to get the best out of him. But I've seen a turnaround against Stoke. although they lost against Stoke, they played them off the park. They absolutely battered them, and they should have won that game. So I expected them to win this one comfortably. They probably should have made it a lot more comfortable than they did. But you're seeing Hazard coming back into the game more. You're seeing Diego Costa finally playing on the last shoulder to get the goal, which, I mean, at one point, I mean, even last week against Stoke, they were getting into the box. There was 5 men in the box. Chelsea trying to threaten a score. None of them's Diego Costa. So, I mean, finally, he's shown with the back of his shirt and getting into the box. But what are they? 10 points, 12 points, 11 points off of top 4. They can catch top 4. But it's going to take a hell of an effort to do so. But, January's coming, and they've still got no excuses. They've still got the talent, and they still have January to buy some players. So they should still do it, but my money's on Tottenham at this stage.
Yeah, and that's the last point. Tottenham Hotspur, got to give them credit. 4-1 victory against a tough team like West Ham. Looking great, looking the full package in there. And at the moment, Geordie, your prediction for top 4 is taking a massive dump on mine, because I'm sitting there with thinking, you said Tottenham are going to make it, Liverpool. I'm sitting there looking at Southampton thinking they have a chance to finish top 5 in the Premier League, to make it in there. But it looks like Liverpool, if this is a turnaround, will be climbing their way up. But we've got to wrap it up here on TYT Sports. As always, great to have the Geordie on. Check out his channel, True Geordie, and the True Geordie Gaming channel. 2 fantastic channels over there. What was your rant like this week? Just to finish on that, was it a useless sacks of shit rant, or was it just something? Was it something along the lines of that?
I'm at the stage now where Steve McLaren, it's like, I'm just done giving him chances, mate. We're just shit. Simple as. So either turn it around or fuck off. That's my attitude at this point.
All right, well, you heard it. Newcastle, take a petition and put Geordie in as the new manager. I'm sure he'll do a great job in there. Doing a good job with the Football Republic's team, as I can see over there. So make sure to check that out. As always, subscribe to TYT Sports. Plenty of football coverage coming your way, as always. Thanks again, guys.